If you're watching this video, you are probably dealing with a very common hair loss condition called Telogen Effluvium. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 amazing homeopathic treatments and remedies that really address and target the root cause of the many sources and reasons behind your hair loss. This ranges from hormonal imbalances to stress, and I'm excited to dig into this particular video because I know for a fact, I use it on myself, it is extremely powerful and very helpful. So if you're interested in how to manage and treat your hair loss, today's video will be extremely impactful. Let's go. So hair loss, this is a very, very close topic to my heart, particularly throughout my life as an adult, I've experienced hair loss. And I'm going to explain some of the different reasons why you're experiencing extreme or moderate hair loss that has you freaking out about the state of your hair. This video is specifically addressing one type of hair loss, and that is telogen effluvium. If you experience this, you might be dealing with hormonal imbalance, you might be dealing with the start or end of menopause or androgen, you might be experiencing infertility, irregular menstrual cycles, a common condition that plagues women called polycystic ovarian syndrome. You might have dealt with the trauma of a surgery, a car accident, a move, major changes, and more recently, a viral infection called COVID-19. There's also a wide range of viral and bacterial infections that can trigger this hair loss. So without further ado, I'm going to share with you 5 very impactful homeopathic products. This is homeopathic medicine that addresses the assorted root causes of your hair loss. And generally, in the world of hair loss, there's a multitude of triggers that are all kind of coming together, and essentially it's a perfect storm. So as I go through these 5 homeopathics for hair loss, I'm going to explain what they specifically address. Now you can pick and choose, you can use all 5, but I wanted to give you impactful resources and information about what might be helpful for your situation. So just to give you a quick background about myself, if you are new to my channel, I hope you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell to get notified when I post new videos or go live daily to cover COVID news and how to address COVID symptoms and to keep your bodies healthy and well during this crazy time. I am a naturopathic physician, and my background is addressing the root cause of illness and disease. And in so many of my patients' lives, hair loss is one of the major symptoms of an assortment of the conditions they deal with that brings them to my office. So I'm very, very familiar with addressing, managing, and resolving the underlying causes to hair loss. I also have a personal experience throughout my life, as I mentioned before, be it PCOS, hormonal imbalances, major stress, and also having a baby. Now I have a 5-year-old, but there are times, especially with this pandemic and it turning our lives upside down, I indeed came back to my homeopathic protocol that I'm going to share with you. So kicking off in the number 1 spot is Ferrum Foss. So Ferrum Foss is traditionally used if the hair loss has some root in iron deficiency or what we would call anemia. This can be very common for women and teens who are menstruating. It can also be very common if you have maybe a gene mutation or gene defect called MTHFR. We also see this in surgical traumas. Maybe you've had to have blood transfusions, you might be dealing with cancer, or some sort of diagnosis that is lowering your iron levels. So Ferrum Foss is an oxygen-carrying cell salt. This is the magic behind this particular homeopathic, and it covers a wide range of ailments and underlying conditions. I mentioned anemia is the core underlying condition that often will accompany hair loss. It also is wonderful for individuals that have dealt with any type of major bacterial or viral infection, cough, colds, flus, and also COVID fall in under Ferrum Foss as a treatment in the early stages of this acute inflammation and acute infection of a virus. It also benefits individuals who experience weakness, fatigue, malaise, chronic fatigue syndrome, as well as individuals that experience inflammation or acute inflammatory diseases or infections. COVID also falls in this category, especially if it is triggering or has triggered an inflammatory response within your body. If you're curious about a whole bunch of symptoms related to COVID, I'm gonna recommend you watch my Daily News Live playlist. I actually have been hosting now over 130 live shows since the beginning of the pandemic in March of 2020. I don't know when you're watching this, but I've been going live since our lives have been turned upside down, and I'm working virtually from home. Ferrum Foss is also a homeopathic that I would use in the event that an individual is dealing with a fever. That also accompanies if there's dehydration associated with the fever, extreme sweats, and also if they experience dry skin. That includes the scalp. There's also circulation challenges. When you have dry skin, your scalp will also be dry. And then the big one here, especially in the COVID category, a quick or rapid pulse. So with COVID, we do see a lot of folks, their heart rate actually increases. So if that is something that you had as a symptom, if you experience COVID and you're Googling or YouTubing ways to resolve hair loss, Ferrum Foss would be a good resource. Now the second one is a favorite of mine. It tends to be a staple in my own life. It is called Phosphoric Acidum, and this is a powerhouse of a homeopathic when your hair loss is resulting from stress. And this could be one or a multitude of stressors: physical stress, emotional stress, mental stress, chemical stress, trauma, physical, emotional trauma. I love this for individuals that feel run down emotionally and they feel like their body reflects how they feel. Extreme weakness and fatigue. This also is another one that's great for folks that have low iron and they're experiencing weakness. It is also great for those who have apathy and feel depressed. It's also wonderful for folks that experience some of the cognitive challenges that go with stress, like brain fog and mental fatigue, apathy, sometimes forgetfulness, and even headaches. This one is for all of you who are experiencing any type of stressor. And sometimes all on its own, hair loss is stressful. And I've experienced it. I know what it's like when you start washing your hair and all of a sudden like these clumps are just falling out and you've not changed anything. It can be very, very challenging. So Phosphoric Acidum is a big winner for those of you who experience stress-induced hair loss. Now, it is very common for all of us to experience hair loss on a day-to-day basis. I do want to make a note that generally hair loss causes might come from changes in your hair care routine. Maybe you've chemically dyed or altered your hair. Sometimes it might be a change in scenery or seasons. And it is very common for us to lose anywhere from 50 to 100 strands on a daily basis. That is totally common. And I sometimes have to remind myself, I have longer hair. And so sometimes when longer hair is falling out, it plays a little trick on your mind because it looks like it's a lot. But if you actually count them, and I've done that. If that's you, comment down below where you've actually counted like, oh my gosh, how many strands are in here? Totally normal, and I don't want you to think that you're alone in that boat. And I will make a note that Phosphoric Acidum, if you're down on the ground counting your hair or counting your brush, take this because you're stressing out about it. And I'm totally serious. That stress just makes it worse. Okay, my third favorite is a homeopathic called Sepia. And I really, really love Sepia, especially when we're dealing with hormonal imbalances. This is both for men and women. And a lot of times men get left out in the hair loss and the balding and the receding hairlines. But men, if you have or experience hormonal imbalances like low testosterone or high DHEA, those are going to be indicators that you are experiencing hormone-induced hair loss. Now, women often experience hormonal imbalances throughout their life. Sometimes teenagers will have hair loss as their menstrual cycle is trying to work itself out. Women during pregnancy, even after miscarriages, or even D&C procedures where women are trying to resolve their endometrial lining. Also, menopause is a big point that tips the scales in terms of hair loss. And it's not uncommon for a lot of women particularly to experience lush hair up until their late 30s, early mid 40s, and all of a sudden it starts thinning out, and they can even notice you're losing a little hair. There'll be almost like a zigzag like kind of hair loss pattern. That is more on the hormonal side. So if this is you and you're experiencing it throughout the hair, that whole head of hair, but particularly up in the scalp and you're noticing the zigzag, that tends to be where we identify sepia being very potent for that hormonal induced hair loss. Now the other thing, both men and women suffer from high DHT, dihydrotestosterone levels. DHT will actually cause the follicle to shrink, reduce in size, and actually can stop the output of new hair growth. That can keep you in a shedding phase, and a lot of times individuals that deal with the telogen effluvium will have 50% of their hair follicles in the shedding phase. And DHT is the hormone that we need to manage and prevent. I have some hair loss videos also that address the hormonal aspects, so I'll link right there. There's a playlist I'll also link in the description box below. But if you need a natural DHT blocker or a DHT inhibitor, Sepia is one of the homeopathics that can achieve that. Sepia also increases blood flow and circulation. It also balances your nervous system. Your central nervous system particularly takes a big hit when your hormones are imbalanced or you're dealing with stress. A lot of times those two, again, go hand in hand and causes hair loss. Sepia will also nourish your organs, and it can offset mild to moderate depression. I love that because a lot of times hormones will kick off depression. Number 4 is a product called Nux Vomica. So Nux Vomica is one of those ones people are like, no, I don't want to take it. It sounds like vomit. I want to clarify that that's just the homeopathic name. It has nothing to do with vomiting. It won't induce vomiting. Nux Vomica is a very potent, powerful balancer. It is one of those homeopathics I will recommend if an individual has experienced an infection where maybe they've had antibiotics. Now this could be as mild as a yeast infection or urinary tract infection, all the way up to COVID-related antibiotic use. And there are a lot of comorbidities where individuals develop infections that need antibiotics with COVID. And I am seeing that within my own practice clinically with my patients who have been dealing with COVID. The antibiotic use in it, that might be a COVID infection or just any type of infection. Really extreme IV related antibiotics will definitely trigger and bring on the onset of hair loss. So Nux Vomica is awesome. It is an anti-inflammatory, which is great if the scalp and the follicles are a little inflamed. That can calm that down and help rejuvenate the hair regeneration and hair growth. It's also very antioxidant rich, as well as has antibacterial properties. I have a lot of patients who come to me and they've got psoriasis within their scalp. They've got kind of itchy and kind of flakiness, not necessarily dandruff, but definitely a sign of potential bacterial infection or yeast imbalances of the scalp. This is a really good homeopathic for those individuals. This also falls into a very beneficial homeopathic for the colds, the flus, and the COVIDs of the world. It can also deal with some of the neurological symptoms like headaches, and if your scalp is sore, itchy, or inflamed, it again will calm down that inflammatory state. And this is another one that will also balance your central nervous system. So if your adrenals are a little taxed or feel like you're revving up and you're highly stressed and you have insomnia or you're not sleeping well at night, Nux Vomica is great. Okay, so now we're on to number 5, my last and final and my favorite. It's called Thusia occidentalis. Thusia is amazing, friends. It is so potent for many of you who deal with some of the hereditary, and I say hereditary in quotes because our genes, we can actually turn on and turn off some of our gene expressions by diet, lifestyle changes. If you're curious about that, I've got a ton of video on that. But specifically, when an individual is dealing with hormone-induced hair loss, high DHT levels, that's literally shrinking the follicle and really driving the individual into a shedding phase and not hair growth, hair loss versus hair growth. Thusia occidentalis is a really, really powerful punch of homeopathic medicine that will block the DHT. So when you block DHT, you actually block the root cause, the source of the shrinking and the minimal growth phase that you experience. It can take you back from being 50% shedding back to 90% growth. That's ideal. We want to move you back into the growth phase. This is another one that will invigorate the circulation of your scalp, and it actually will restore that growth mode. It is extremely powerful. I use Thusia in other categories, especially if folks have tumors and cysts within their body. But Thusia with the hair loss, the follicle, the scalp, it is wonderful. It's also really great because it's an antimicrobial, antibacterial. So if you're dealing with any type of gut imbalances or overwhelmed bacteria imbalance or bacterial infection, as well as even viral infections, Thusia is a very good complement to help your body recover and restore your hair growth. So friends, these are my 5 fave homeopathics. I hope you test these out. I'm going to include links for all of these down below. I have an online clinic store that gives you an automatic 10% off when you check out. All you have to do is set up a new patient account, and this is HIPAA certified. All your information is protected under the laws of HIPAA, but allows you to get access to not just these homeopathics, but also other supplements and other herbs and nutrients and botanicals that will help you recover some of those underlying imbalances. So if you are looking for resources additionally to this, you watch some of my other videos, definitely do check out my full script store. And again, it's 10% off. So if you love this video, please give me a thumbs up. I'm so curious, have you used any of these homeopathics? And are you thinking about it? Let me know. And you're not alone on your hair journey. I promise it will get better. And I know what it's like if you have cried over, literally cried over washing your hair or have avoided washing your hair. I've been there. I've done that multiple times in my life. It is a phase. And I just want to note that if you are watching this, it's August 2020. We are in a really crazy time, and this global pandemic has everybody stressed out. This is very common. The symptom of hair loss and telogen effluvium is not just affecting COVID patients, but all of us. So I just want to let you know you're not alone, and please join my community here at Natural Health Resources. If you're inclined, I'd love for you to become one of our private YouTube members. I'll include some information here about our membership program. I do catered and tailored content for our private members. So thanks for tuning in. I am grateful for your time, and go out, be well, be healthy, and have faith that your hair will grow again. Have a great day. Go time, show time. All right, ladies. All right. I'm so excited. Okay, let's